This is an informal video based on a student question in social work. The student was trying to do research on disabilities in schools and also the idea of an individual education plan, and was having difficulty finding the correct subject headings to get the search that he wanted. And this is very common when we're mixing two different disciplines. So we're mixing social work and education, and each discipline has its own terminology. So it's important that we be open and be good searchers to find those differences in wording so that we can have more effective searches. So I'm going to go into EBSCO. I'm going to select all the databases in EBSCO. So the student's original search was disability and inclusion and IDE and mental health. Now this is not a bad search, and I was impressed the student remembered to capitalize "and", but notice what we get is one article. All right, so this is not going to help us in what we're trying to do, right? So we just need to start working on how do we go about finding the right subject heading. Now, if we're trying to talk about an individual education plan, we do not want to use an abbreviation. All right, we're going to spell it out. With this search, I've just put in individual education plan. I haven't put any of the other subject headings or terms that I think I might want to use. I'm just trying to figure out, what does EBSCO use for IEP? What does that mean to EBSCO, right? So we have, notice in the title here, individual education plans. When we start looking at what the subject headings are, though, you'll see we have individual education programs. Okay, so that's different. We also have inclusive education, individualized education programs, educational planning, program implementation. So you can see that there are different subject headings that might be used for this, and so we might have to use a variety of these in order to get at what we really want. So I'm going to click on this one. Remember, we talked about when we click on the title of an article, then we can see the subject terms. So here we have the individualized education programs. I'm going to click on that subject heading. Now notice in the search box that our words are in quotation marks and it starts with DE, so that's the official subject heading, and we have 8,791, right? Much better than just one. So now we need to take a look at, okay, we've kind of figured out the subject heading for that, but what do we do if we want to talk about students with disabilities? Okay, so we've just put that in as a regular keyword search. You'll see that we do have a subject heading, students with disabilities. We also have people with disabilities. Now, the other thing that we might want to think about is, do we want to narrow it down to a specific disability rather than using the keyword or the subject heading? Do we want to pick a specific disability, or do we want to keep it very general like this? Also remember to look at the author supplied keywords. If the author is from education, they may give different subject headings than what the database is using. So here we have students with disabilities, but the author liked this one better, which is students with learning disabilities. Now, if we combine the subject heading for learning disability and students with disabilities, we'll get the same thing, but they've put that into one search. All right, now when I click on students with disabilities as a subject term, even though that's the same wording that I used before, because we're searching it as a subject, it's got this DE in front of it, and that changes the accuracy of your search. Okay, so be aware of that. Another way that we can try to get at the keywords that we want is to use OR as our connector. So you see we've put OR in all caps instead of AND. So we have IEP, which is the common abbreviation in education, or Individualized Education Program, or Individualized Education Plan, and then click search. So we have 22,000 at this point because OR is always going to make that a greater search. It's going to give you more articles. Notice that we can see there are also family plans here. Special education is a phrase that we might use instead of disabilities if we're talking about including them in the classroom. Again, we have that program implementation. And remember, we can always go to subject terms thesaurus to see what are some of the subject headings and about how many articles would we get with that. There are major headings and then just regular subject. These usually under subject give you a bigger number. Okay, you can click on show more. That's going to pull up a box. So intervention, that might be a term that we use. Educational planning. All right, so I hope that helps you understand how to do searches and then find the correct subject heading or combined phrases that you've heard. But do remember that whenever you start mixing a field like social work with another discipline, education or whatever that might be, they're going to have their own lingo, and so you need to be able to account for that. I hope this video's helped, and do feel free to come into the library and actually work with the librarian one-on-one. There's always someone at the desk, even on the weekends, and it often works better if we can sit down together and discuss what you're really trying to get at.